This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
It's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken.
ICE is totally out of control. Why would you align yourself for raging anti-Semitites? Why can't you just call it what it is?
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Holding out hope. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. Another social media plea from Savannah Guthrie over the weekend as the kidnapping of her mother, Nancy Guthrie, drags on into a third week.
It's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and we still have hope. We still believe.
One focus of the wide-ranging investigation into clues comes from that much-seen Ring camera video.
Investigators are now reviewing surveillance video from all local Walmarts. They believe all of the clothing, including that backpack and face mask, came from the same retailer, possibly from the same store.
CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti. Investigators also are waiting on DNA test results on a glove found a couple of miles from Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home. The partial government shutdown impacting the Department of Homeland Security will carry on into next week. Congress failing to reach a deal over the weekend. Now they're on a recess. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on CBS's Face the Nation.
ICE is totally out of control, and they need to be reined in because the American people deserve immigration enforcement that is fair, that is just, and that is humane.
But South Carolina Republican Tim Scott tells Fox News he has a message for Jeffries and other Democrats.
Shame on you. You're making our homeland, the United States of America, less secure because you're trying to make a political point.
ICE operations will continue despite the budget impasse, but we could soon see impact on other DHS branches, including TSA. A lot of news came out of a global security conference in Munich, Germany. Among those there, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who says his country won't budge on some core issues with Russia.
Ukraine keeps returning to one simple point. Peace can only be built on clear security guarantees.
Also making news at that conference, New York Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who doubled down on a contention by some in her party that U.S. aid to Israel makes both nations guilty of genocide in Gaza.
The idea of completely unconditional aid, no matter what one does not make sense. I think it enabled a genocide in Gaza.
That stance doesn't sit well with maverick Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman, who tells Fox News,
Why would you align yourself for raging anti-Semitites? Why can't you just call it what it is? You know, there's a rot in my party standing with pro-Hamas people.
Ocasio-Cortez has also been the subject of criticism for a rambling non-answer she gave when asked about the U.S. reaction if China were to attack Taiwan. Some health news next. A new study concludes many young people in need of mental health treatment just aren't getting it.
We found that 1 in 5 households, parents perceived a need for child mental health treatment, and then of those households, about 25% reported an unmet need.
Researcher Alyssa Burnett on CBS. The U.S. women's hockey team back in action this morning, facing off against Sweden at the Winter Olympics, and by the second period, the rout was on.
Here's Layla Edwards. Edwards scored! Two goals in just under a minute. The United States extends to a 4-0 lead.
The call on NBC, the U.S. eventually won at 5-0, advancing to the gold medal game, opponent yet to be determined. How's your Bible reading going? Actor Tim Allen says he just finished a 13-month journey of reading through the entire Bible. You might remember him from Santa Claus movies and, of course, the TV series Home Improvement.
Honey, did you put hubcaps on the lawnmower?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
The star says he struggled with faith after his father was killed by a drunk driver when he was 11. But over the past year, the comedian did a deep dive into the Bible, saying he went through it word by word. The 71-year-old Allen says he was humbled, enlightened, and amazed and will begin reading it again. A famed Hollywood actor has passed away.
You've taken the Lord today. He's going to go all the way with you. Praise God.
Thank you, sir.
Don't have to thank me, son. Thank our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You're in his hands now.
Actor Robert Duvall as preacher Sonny Dewey in the 1997 film The Apostle, which he also wrote and directed. His family says he passed away peacefully on Sunday at his home in Virginia. Robert Duvall was 95. And apparently Bad Bunny wasn't bad enough to run afoul of the FCC. The Puerto Rican performer Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show, despite some obscene and sexually charged Spanish lyrics, has reportedly been cleared of any possible rule violations by the FCC. That, according to the New York Post, Florida Republican Congressman Randy Fine had argued the halftime show would have been pulled right off the air had Bad Bunny been singing those lyrics in English instead of Spanish. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories and highlights from today's issues in education.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The call for tonight, turning out cloudy. Be a little light, spotty rain, freezing rain or drizzle overnight. Low patchy fog again as well. Low temps 30s. On Tuesday, cloud cover. Sunny breaks, though, emerge in the afternoon. High temps at or above 40. On Wednesday, cloudy with rain, but an icy mix across parts of upper central New York and areas close to Lake Ontario. High temperatures Wednesday from the middle 30s near Lake Ontario to the upper 40s to near 50 in parts of central and western Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Now checking the stories, making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Some new rules for the road for New York drivers. Today, day one of a stiffer points system.
The new point system, it's really designed for repeat offenders or, dangerous drivers.
Schuyler County Sheriff Kevin Rumsey tells WETM if you're a good driver, you don't have to worry too much about it.
Most responsible drivers won't feel any effect from it whatsoever. Really is designed towards the repeat offenders and, dangerous drivers who, kind of don't learn their lesson from the first time or the first couple of times.
Penalties are higher now for things like DUI, speeding, and even vehicles with mechanical issues like a broken tail light. 11 points on your license over an 18-month period, and you can lose your license. While many are welcoming the milder air that's settled into our area, conditions have also created some breathing hazards in parts of Pennsylvania. We get that story from Family Life, Sarah Harnish.
Yeah, the state DEP has declared a code orange air quality alert today for portions of the Susquehanna and Lehigh Valley regions, as well as southeastern Pennsylvania. A code orange means fine particle pollution is expected to remain high, which presents a potential health threat to young children and the elderly and those with respiratory problems such as asthma, emphysema, and bronchitis. The DEP says those who are especially vulnerable to the effects of air pollution should limit outdoor activities today. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. Dozens of workers on strike early this morning at Garlock Sealing Technologies in Wayne County, New York, as they circled a building.
They plan to have all three entrances at Garlock filled with workers striking.
That's a WHAM TV reporter on the scene. About 250 union employees at that plant, which hires machinists and aerospace workers. The same group struck in 2021, pretty much for the same reasons.
Better wages, better attendance policy, more sick leave. Now, that strike, according to goiam.org, which is their official website, lasted 3 days.
The union's asking for a new 4-year deal in Palmyra, New York. An unusual competition in Sullivan County, Pennsylvania over the weekend, a sleigh competition. Sleigh as in horse-drawn sleigh. DuShore residents tell WNDP it's been a rough go the past couple of years because there was either too much snow or not enough snow for a 4-horse sleigh.
It's really hard. You need enough snow, but not too much. You need roads that people can get their horse trailers out. And it's kind of a dying thing, so we want to keep it going so that people can see how we used to travel.
The competition began in 2014. Horses are judged on how well they pull the sleighs at different speeds. And finally, the Pennsylvania Turnpike wants your help to name its new snow plow. Until February 25th, you can go to their Facebook page and submit a name on their snow plow post, 30 characters or less, and it can't reference a celebrity or public figure. Some names submitted so far: Saltimus Prime, the Toll Increaser, Snow No Mercy, and Fleetwood Mac. Up next, highlights from today's noon feature as our Bob Price huddles with Dr. Ralph Kerr with the Teaching and Learning Institute in Houghton, New York, about the top issues in education.
I want to begin with a story out of Leroy, New York. A lesson on slavery has turned into a lawsuit there. The gist of it is the mom of a 13-year-old 8th grader didn't like what the teacher had to say about slavery. Now the New York State Civil Liberties Union is investigating. Ralph, this teacher had already been cleared of any DASA violation, the Dignity for All Students Act. You have seen the story. Do you support how the district handled this? And what advice would you give teachers who are doing lessons on slavery? Because, after all, February is Black History Month, and there's probably a few of those lessons going on this month.
Yes, I'm sure there are, and rightfully so. The student said the only thing the teacher ever teaches us is about the negatives that are involved in being a person of color. And then when the New York Civil Liberties Union got involved, the representative actually said role-playing is not an appropriate teaching method to be used in the classroom. I would 100% disagree with her. It's done all the time and can be very effective.
Yeah.
I think the district handled this very appropriately. And as you said, this is Black History Month. And to the student, I would have reminded her that last month Martin Luther King Day was celebrated. And we all have heard along the way of people like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman.
Yeah. For those who aren't familiar with this story, the teacher, and you mentioned role-playing, in a role-play situation about how unfair slavery was when it comes to sharecropping, because anything they earned, they had to give back to the slave owner. And so that's why slavery was so evil. So let's move on, Ralph. Another school district in our listening area out of Baldwinsville, New York. Turning Point USA chapter there. They've been meeting for a few times in central New York. That was the topic of a contentious board meeting last week. All but one parent supported this TPUSA chapter. But as is the case with most stories like this, Ralph, it is that one parent who is often the loudest, the most vocal, equated TPUSA as a hate group and has no place in the public school setting. Do clubs like this have a right to exist in public schools, and why?
Well, the answer to that is a one-word answer, but I'm going to keep people waiting because, once again, I want to talk about what people involved said. Obviously, the parent was against the positions of this organization because they say that it stands against all American values, which obviously is just the opposite from what Turning Point USA stands for, because if you check on their website, it says for leading youth movement for freedom and teaching about loving American values. I don't know how you can get any better than that. But in this case, the teacher, who is the advisor for this club, has been placed on administrative leave. Reportedly, it was because an LGBTQ student asked to join the group for one of their meetings, and the teacher said no. Now, for one thing, I can't imagine that a teacher would say that. But regardless, the teacher was placed on administrative leave. In answer to your question, do clubs like this have a right to exist in the public school setting? The answer is yes, if the district has an open or closed campus policy. In this case, they obviously have an open policy because they do have an LGBTQ club that meets there.
Yeah.
Now, again, what that means is if you're a closed campus, no outside organization, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or any group can meet in the school and use the facility. So the answer to your question is yes, they do have a right to meet there, and unless the board changes that policy, that would continue to be the case.
Dr. Ralph Kerr with the Teaching and Learning Institute on today's Issues in Education. You can hear the entire feature and, of course, all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
In Malachi 3, God asks Israel a startling question. Will a man rob God? Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Israel had withheld tithes meant to support worship, care for the priests, and provide for the poor. This wasn't about funding an institution. It was about faithfulness to a covenant relationship. Their lack of generosity showed a deeper problem. They no longer trusted the God who provided for them. Sadly, this passage has sometimes been twisted into guilt-driven giving. But God wasn't fundraising. He was inviting his people back to trust. Test me in this, he says, and see if I will not open the floodgates of heaven. That's grace, not coercion. For believers today, giving still reveals whom we trust to provide for us. We can help you learn to manage your money according to biblical principles when you download the free FaithFi app. You'll find it on our website at faithfi.com.
All right, thank you very much, Rob. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report on this official President's Day holiday, a look back at how ice was oh so nice for our very first president, just when he and our new nation needed it most. First, weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The week is off to a fairly tepid and tranquil start. There will be a little spotty precipitation, though, tonight, and a boundary of front across our region on Wednesday will mean rain and the risk of an icy mix in areas close to Lake Ontario. The call for tonight, turning out cloudy, be a little light, spotty rain, freezing rain, or drizzle overnight, low patchy fog again as well. Low temps 30s. On Tuesday, cloud cover, sunny breaks, though emerge in the afternoon. High temps at or above 40. On Wednesday, cloudy with rain, but an icy mix across parts of upper central New York and areas close to Lake Ontario. High temperatures Wednesday from the middle 30s near Lake Ontario to the upper 40s to near 50 in parts of central and western Pennsylvania.
Oh, 50 sounds nice. Thank you, Kevin. Finally at 5, at some point you've probably seen the famous painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. There were actually 3 oil paintings by that name by German-American artist Emanuel Lütze. It captured then General George Washington leading the Continental Army, badly in need of a victory, across the icy Delaware River on Christmas night, 1776, for a surprise attack on Hessian forces stationed at Trenton, New Jersey. Alex Robb is an educator at Washington Crossing Historic Park just outside of Philly. They commemorate that famed pivotal crossing every December. He tells CBS that the fact it was an icy December made all the difference.
It does a lot to impede the crossing and endangers the whole operation, but it actually becomes our shield.
That's because the harsh wintry conditions, much like what we've had this winter, caused the Hessians and the Brits to let their guard down, figuring no one would be crazy enough to try to cross the Delaware River with all that ice in it. No one, it turned out, except some brave and desperate Yankees.
Looking back, had the weather proven more mild, they most definitely would have encountered resistance outside Trenton. A few minutes can really make the difference between winning and losing a battle.
And in this case, a few degrees made the difference, too. Washington and 2,400 Continental soldiers not only made it across, but captured 1,000 Hessians, only 4 American lives lost, in a victory that breathed fresh life into the American war effort and set the stage for a key victory at Trenton, which followed. By the way, the famed painting was done 75 years after that crossing. And that's the world we live in for Monday, February 16th, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.